The cargo bay smelled of rust and decay. Zara's vision blurred as she tried to focus on the ceiling above her. Every breath sent sharp pain through her chest, and the purple blood seeping from her wounds had long since stopped flowing freely. She didn't know how many days had passed since her crew abandoned her on this derelict station. Time meant nothing when death circled so close. She was Valachian, a species known throughout the Galactic Council for their exceptional navigation skills and acute spatial awareness. Her people could calculate hyperspace jumps in their minds faster than most ship computers. But none of that mattered now. Her 4 arms lay useless at her sides, 2 of them broken. Her secondary heart had stopped beating completely, and her primary heart struggled to maintain enough circulation to keep her conscious. The station groaned around her, metal grinding against metal as the ancient structure slowly tore itself apart in the gravitational pull of the nearby gas giant. The lights had failed 2 days ago. Only the emergency strips remained, casting everything in a sickly red glow that reminded Zara of her own blood. Her crew had left her behind after the raid went wrong. They had attacked a human supply convoy, thinking the creatures from the newly discovered Earth would be easy targets. The Galactic Council had warned everyone about humanity, but her captain had laughed off the concerns. Humans were new to space, barely capable of faster-than-light travel. What threat could they possibly pose? The raid had been a massacre, but not in the way her captain expected. The human ships had torn through their small fleet with a ferocity that defied everything Zara knew about civilized warfare. While other species fought with calculated precision and honor-bound rules of engagement, the humans fought like cornered predators. They used weapons that violated 3 different interstellar treaties. They executed maneuvers that should have killed their own crews from the G-forces involved. Zara had been manning the navigation console when the human missile struck their ship. She remembered the explosion, the way the blast wave had thrown her across the bridge. When she woke, her crew was already abandoning ship. She called out to them, begged them to wait, but the captain had looked at her broken body and made a cold calculation. Carrying her would slow them down. She was dead weight. They sealed the airlock and left her in the wreckage as the station's gravity began pulling the damaged ship down into its crushing embrace. The last thing the captain said to her was that she should have died in the explosion. It would have been cleaner. Now Zara lay in the cargo bay of the station, where her crewmates had dumped her before fleeing in the emergency shuttle. She had dragged herself away from the airlock, instinct driving her to find somewhere sheltered, somewhere safe. But there was no safety here. The station was coming apart. In a few hours, maybe a day, the structure would break up completely and tumble into the gas giant's atmosphere. She tried to reach her communicator again, but her upper right arm refused to move. The bone was shattered in 3 places. Her lower right arm could barely grip anything. She had managed to activate the device hours ago, sending out a general distress call, but the chances of anyone picking it up were minimal. This sector was restricted space, abandoned after the mining operations proved unprofitable. No one came here anymore. Zara closed her eyes and focused on breathing. The Valachian meditation techniques her mother taught her helped manage the pain. She pictured the crystal gardens of her homeworld, the way the light refracted through the mineral formations and painted the sky in rainbow colors. She remembered running through those gardens as a child, all 4 arms outstretched, feeling invincible. A sound jerked her back to consciousness. Metal scraping against metal, different from the station's death groans. Footsteps, heavy ones. Zara's heart raced, though she wasn't sure if it was fear or hope. Had her crew returned? Had someone actually received her distress call? The cargo bay door shrieked as something forced it open. The emergency lights flickered, and Zara saw a silhouette in the doorway. It was too large to be Valachian, too broad to be Thaxian. The figure moved with purpose, scanning the room with some kind of handheld device. When the figure stepped into the light, Zara's breath caught. Human. It was a human. She could see the distinctive features that every member of the Galactic Council had studied after first contact. 2 arms instead of 4 or 6, no tail or secondary appendages, hair covering only the head instead of the entire body or none at all. The flat face with forward-facing predator eyes, the human wore a bulky suit, clearly designed for hostile environments. The helmet was transparent, showing a male face with dark skin and darker eyes. He swept his scanner across the cargo bay until it landed on Zara. For a moment, they simply stared at each other. Then the human moved toward her with surprising speed. Zara tried to scramble backward, but her broken body wouldn't cooperate. Pain exploded through her chest, and she gasped, purple blood bubbling at her lips. The human stopped and held up his hands in what might have been a peaceful gesture. "Easy," the human said, his voice filtered through the suit's communication system. "I'm not here to hurt you." Zara didn't believe him. Why would she? Her crew had attacked his people. For all she knew, he was here for revenge. But she was too weak to resist. She could barely keep her eyes open. If he wanted to kill her, she couldn't stop him. The human knelt beside her and began scanning her with his device. His movements were careful, almost gentle. He examined her broken arms, the wound in her chest. The blood pooled beneath her. His face remained neutral, but Zara saw his jaw tighten when the scanner showed him something he didn't like. "You're in bad shape," he said, more to himself than to her. He touched a control on his wrist, and suddenly he was speaking in Valachian, the translator converting his words with remarkable accuracy. "Can you understand me now?" Zara managed a small nod. Speaking took too much energy. "My name is Marcus Chen. I'm with the Human Medical Response Team. I picked up your distress signal." He continued scanning her. "You've got multiple fractures, internal bleeding, and one of your hearts has stopped. The other is barely functioning." "How long have you been here?" "Days," Zara whispered. "My crew left me." Marcus's expression darkened for a moment, but he quickly focused back on his scanner. "I'm going to stabilize you as best I can, but we need to get off this station. It's breaking apart. The structural integrity is down to 15%. We've got maybe 40 minutes before this whole place comes down." He pulled a medical kit from his back and began working. Zara watched in fascination as he administered injections, sprayed her wounds with some kind of sealant, and carefully immobilized her broken arms. The human worked with the efficiency of someone who had done this hundreds of times. His hands never shook. His movements never faltered. The pain began to recede as whatever drugs he gave her took effect. Zara found she could breathe more easily. The crushing weight on her chest lessened slightly. "Why are you helping me?" she asked. "My crew attacked yours." Marcus didn't stop working. "Your crew attacked us. You didn't. You're the victim here, not the perpetrator." He glanced at her face. "Besides, the Hippocratic Oath doesn't have an exemption clause for enemies." Hippocratic Oath? Ancient human medical principle. First, do no harm. Help those who need it, regardless of who they are. He finished sealing the last wound. "I took an oath to save lives. Your species, your past actions, none of that matters when someone is dying in front of me." Zara didn't understand. The concept made no sense by Valachian standards. If someone wronged you, you had no obligation to help them. If someone was weak or injured beyond usefulness, you left them behind to preserve the strength of the group. That was natural law. That was survival. Yet here was this human, risking his life in a collapsing station to save someone whose people had just tried to kill his people. The cognitive dissonance made Zara's head spin, or maybe that was the blood loss. Marcus checked his wrist computer. 35 minutes. We need to move." He looked at Zara's broken body and then at the distance to the door. "This is going to hurt. I'm sorry." Before she could ask what he meant, Marcus scooped her up in his arms. The movement sent lightning bolts of agony through every nerve in Zara's body. She screamed, the sound echoing off the cargo bay walls. Marcus didn't stop. He carried her toward the door with steady, ground-eating strides. "I know it hurts," he said, his voice gentle despite the urgency. "Focus on breathing. We're going to make it." The station shuddered violently. Somewhere deep in the structure, something important gave way with a thunderous crash. The floor tilted, and Marcus adjusted his stance, keeping his balance like someone used to unstable terrain. He carried Zara through the corridors, navigating by the light of his suit's headlamp. Every step jostled her injuries. Zara bit down on her lower lip, tasting blood. She wanted to tell him to leave her, that she was slowing him down, that he should save himself. But the words wouldn't come. Some part of her, the part that remembered the crystal gardens and her mother's laughter, wanted desperately to live. They reached an external airlock. Marcus set her down as gently as he could and began working the manual override. The station lurched again, and the lights went out completely. Only Marcus's headlamp remained, cutting through the darkness like a blade. "Come on," Marcus muttered, his fingers flying over the controls. "Come on, you piece of junk." The airlock groaned, and slowly, agonizingly slowly, the door began to open. Beyond it, Zara could see stars and the swirling storms of the gas giant. Tethered to the airlock was a small human shuttle, sleek and compact. Marcus lifted Zara again and carried her into the shuttle. He strapped her into a medical berth designed to stabilize patients during transport. The padding conformed to her body, supporting her injuries. He worked quickly, attaching monitors and IV lines, checking readouts. "Hang on," he said, dropping into the pilot's seat. The shuttle detached from the station just as another massive tremor shook the structure. Marcus punched the engines, and the small craft shot away from the dying station with acceleration that pushed Zara deep into the padded berth. She watched through the viewport as the station they had just escaped broke apart, huge sections tumbling away into the gas giant's gravity well. Marcus piloted them away from the destruction, heading for the inner system. The shuttle's computer displayed a countdown on the screen. 23 minutes until they reached his ship. Zara focused on that number, letting it anchor her to consciousness. 23 minutes. She could survive 23 minutes. "You're doing great," Marcus said, glancing back at her. "Your vitals are stabilizing. Once we get to my ship, I can do proper surgery." "You're going to make it." Zara didn't know if she believed him, but the certainty in his voice was comforting. She watched him pilot the shuttle with the same calm competence he had shown treating her injuries. This human moved through crisis like it was routine, like saving enemies from derelict stations was something he did every day. "The other ships," Zara managed to say. "Your convoy." "Made it through with minimal casualties. Your crew's attack was poorly planned. No offense." "None taken. Our captain was a fool." Marcus laughed, a short, sharp sound. "Can't argue with that. Attacking a human convoy in the frontier sectors was suicidal. We don't follow the Council's civilized warfare protocols out here. Too many pirates, too many threats. We shoot first and ask questions later." The shuttle's warning system beeped. Marcus checked the display and frowned. "We've got company. 3 ships bearing 270, scanning us." Zara's heart sank. "My crew, they must have detected your shuttle. Can they identify you?" "If they scan deeply enough, yes. They'll know I'm Valakian." Marcus's jaw tightened. His hands moved across the controls, bringing up weapon systems. "Then they'll know I'm rescuing one of their own. Are they likely to be grateful or angry?" "They left me to die. What do you think?" "Yeah, that's what I thought." Marcus accelerated, the shuttle's engines screaming. "Hold tight. This is about to get interesting." The 3 Valakian ships closed in fast, their weapons charging. Zara could see them on the shuttle's display screen, their signatures unmistakable. One was the emergency shuttle her crew had used to escape. The other two must have been waiting nearby, probably other survivors from the failed raid who had regrouped. Marcus pushed the shuttle harder, but Zara knew it wouldn't be enough. Her people built fast ships, designed for quick escapes and rapid navigation. The human shuttle was tough and well-armed, but it was primarily a medical transport, not a combat vessel. "They're hailing us," Marcus said, his voice calm despite the danger. "Should I answer?" Zara wanted to say no, but she knew it wouldn't matter. They would attack either way. "Put them through." The view screen flickered and Captain Vex's face appeared. His blue skin was darker than Zara's, marked with the scars of a veteran raider. His 4 eyes focused on the screen, and when he saw Marcus, his expression twisted with contempt. "Human," Vex said, the word dripping with venom. "You carry something that belongs to us." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "You mean the crew member you left to die on a collapsing station? That's an interesting definition of belonging." "Zara is Valachian. She returns with us. Surrender her now, and we will allow you to leave with your life." "That's generous of you, considering you're outgunned." Marcus's fingers danced across the controls, and suddenly the shuttle's weapons displays showed full readiness. "I've got missile lock on all 3 of your ships. My vessel might be small, but I promise you, if we fight, at least 2 of you won't survive. Want to guess which 2? Captain Vex's face darkened further. "You bluff, human. You cannot target all 3 of us simultaneously." "Try me." Marcus's voice dropped to something cold and hard. Zara heard the predator beneath the civilized surface, the same lethal edge that had allowed humanity to survive on their death world planet. "I've got 3 missiles, and your ships are barely armed shuttles. I don't need to hit you hard, just puncture your hulls. Then you get to see how long you last in vacuum." The standoff stretched for several heartbeats. Zara watched Vex's face, saw him calculating the odds. Her captain was cruel and selfish, but he wasn't stupid. He knew Marcus wasn't bluffing. "She is dead weight human," Vex finally said. "Her injuries are too severe. She will die within hours, even with your primitive medicine. Why waste your resources?" "My resources, my choice." Marcus cut the connection without waiting for a response. The Valachian ships held their position for a moment longer, then peeled away, accelerating back toward the outer system. Zara watched them go, feeling a strange mixture of relief and bitterness. They had abandoned her twice now. She would never forget that. Marcus let out a long breath. "Well, that was tense. You okay back there?" Zara tried to laugh, but it came out as a pained wheeze. "I've been better. You really would have fired on them?" "Absolutely." Marcus checked their course, making minor adjustments. "I don't make threats I'm not willing to follow through on. Besides, they needed to believe I was dangerous. Humans have a reputation for being unpredictable and aggressive. Sometimes it's useful to lean into that." "Your people do have that reputation," Zara said. "The Council fears you." "Good. Fear keeps people honest." Marcus glanced back at her. "How are you feeling? Pain levels manageable?" "The medicine helps. I can still feel everything, but it's distant now, like it's happening to someone else." "That's the neural blockers working. They'll keep you comfortable until we reach my ship. ETA is now 18 minutes. The shuttle flew through the darkness between worlds, leaving the gas giant and its doomed station behind. Zara watched the stars slide past, trying to process everything that had happened. Hours ago, she had been certain she would die alone in that cargo bay. Now she was being rescued by a human, the very species her crew had tried to rob and kill. "Why did you really come for me?" she asked. "Your medical oath, I understand that in theory, but you risked your life in a collapsing station and faced down 3 hostile ships. For a stranger. For an enemy." Marcus was quiet for a moment, his eyes on the flight controls. When he spoke, his voice was thoughtful. "When I was 12 years old, I got lost in the wilderness near my home. I fell down a ravine and broke my leg. I was stuck there for 2 days. convinced I was going to die. Then a man found me. He carried me out of that ravine, hiked 6 kilometers to the nearest hospital. Saved my life. Your father? No, a complete stranger who happened to be hiking nearby. He heard me calling for help. Marcus smiled slightly. I asked him the same question you just asked me. Why risk himself for someone he didn't know? You know what he said? Zara shook her head slightly, the only movement she could safely make. He said, because someone needed help, and I could provide it. That's reason enough. Marcus adjusted their heading slightly. That conversation changed my life. I became a doctor because of that man, and I live by his philosophy. Someone needs help, and I can provide it. That's reason enough. Most species don't think that way. I know. We've been studying council cultures since we joined. Your efficiency-based ethics, the Thaxian honor codes, the Krell collective consciousness, all valid in their own way. But humans, we're different. We evolved as social hunters. We survived because we helped each other, even when it wasn't efficient, even when it was dangerous. That sounds like a weakness, Zara said, though she didn't really believe it anymore. Marcus laughed. The council thought so too, right up until they saw us fight. Our weakness for helping each other, for refusing to leave anyone behind. It makes us strong in ways the council doesn't understand. When every soldier knows their comrades will die before abandoning them, they fight harder. When every civilian knows their government will move heaven and earth to save them, they support that government completely. The shuttle's computer chimed. Marcus checked the display and nodded. There she is, the Nightingale. Ahead of them, a ship grew visible against the star field. It was larger than Zara expected, easily 3 times the size of a typical medical transport. The hull was painted white with red crosses, the ancient human symbol for medical aid. But Zara could see the heavy armor plating, the concealed weapon ports, the powerful engines. This was a ship built to go anywhere, help anyone, and survive anything. She's beautiful, Zara said. She's home. Marcus guided the shuttle toward the docking bay. We're a volunteer organization, independent from the human military. We go where we're needed, help who needs it. Pirates, civilians, soldiers, aliens, doesn't matter. If someone is hurt, we help them. The shuttle slid smoothly into the docking bay. Marcus brought them down with practiced ease, the landing gear touching the deck with barely a bump. He unbuckled and moved to Zara's medical berth, checking her vital signs on the monitors. Your primary heart is getting stronger. The secondary heart is still offline, but we can fix that with surgery. You're stable enough for transport. He pressed a button, and the berth converted into a floating stretcher. Let's get you to the medical bay. The Nightingale's interior was clean and well-maintained. Zara saw other crew members as Marcus guided her stretcher through the corridors. Most were human, but she spotted a Thaxian engineer and what looked like a Krell medical assistant. They all nodded to Marcus as he passed, and several cast curious glances at Zara. The medical bay was impressive. State-of-the-art equipment lined the walls, and several surgical pods stood ready. Marcus transferred Zara into one of the pods, a sophisticated piece of technology that could handle surgery on dozens of different species. A woman approached, tall and stern-faced, with gray hair pulled back in a tight bun. She examined Zara with sharp green eyes, then looked at Marcus. This is the distress call you responded to? Her voice carried authority. Yes. Dr. Okonkwo. Multiple fractures, internal bleeding, one heart stopped. I've stabilized her for transport, but she needs immediate surgery. Dr. Okonkwo studied the readouts. Valachian physiology. I've performed surgery on their species twice before. The dual circulatory system is tricky, but manageable. She looked at Zara directly. I'm the chief medical officer of this vessel. We're going to repair your injuries. Do you consent to treatment? Zara blinked, surprised by the question. You're asking my permission? Of course. Medical ethics. We won't perform surgery without consent unless you're unconscious and unable to give it. My crew left me to die. If I refuse treatment, I die. That's not much of a choice. Dr. Okonkwo's expression softened slightly. It's still your choice to make. We can sedate you for the pain and let nature take its course, if that's what you prefer, or we can fight to save you. But it has to be your decision. No one had asked Zara to make a decision about her own life in longer than she could remember. In Valachian society, the strong decided for the weak. The healthy decided for the injured. The captain decided for the crew. Personal choice was a luxury afforded only to those with power. I want to live, Zara said, and realized she meant it completely. Please help me. Good choice. Dr. Okonkwo began prepping the surgical pod. Marcus, good work on the field stabilization. You probably added 6 hours to her survival window. Just doing my job, Doctor. Go get some rest. You've been on duty for 16 hours. I'll handle the surgery. Marcus hesitated, glancing at Zara. I'd like to assist, if that's acceptable. I started this case. I'd like to see it through. Dr. Okonkwo studied him for a moment, then nodded. Scrub in. But if I tell you to take a break, you take it. Understood? Yes, Doctor. As Marcus moved to prepare for surgery, another person entered the medical bay. This one was male, shorter than Marcus, with light brown skin and kind eyes. He wore a religious collar around his neck. I'm Chaplain Rodriguez, he said to Zara. I provide spiritual support to patients and crew. Do you have any religious practices or beliefs I should be aware of before surgery? Zara thought about the crystal gardens, about the meditation techniques her mother taught her. I believe the universe has patterns, that energy flows from one form to another, that nothing is truly lost, only transformed. Chaplain Rodriguez smiled. That's beautiful. Would you like me to stay with you until you go under anesthesia? Yes, please. He pulled up a chair beside the surgical pod and took one of her lower hands gently in his. His touch was warm and comforting. You're safe here. These are the best doctors in human space. They've saved hundreds of lives from dozens of species. You're in good hands. Dr. Okonkwo approached with a syringe. This is the anesthetic. You'll drift off to sleep, and when you wake up, the surgery will be complete. Count backward from 10 for me. Zara felt the cool liquid enter her bloodstream. 10, 9, 8. The chaplain squeezed her hand gently. We'll be here when you wake up. 7, 6. The room began to blur. Zara saw Marcus returning in surgical gear, saw Dr. Okonkwo preparing her instruments. 5, 4. She thought about Vex and her crew, about how they had looked at her broken body and seen only dead weight. Then she thought about Marcus, who had seen someone who needed help. 3, 2. The last thing Zara felt before consciousness faded was gratitude. Gratitude that humans had come to the stars. Gratitude that they brought their strange, inefficient, beautiful philosophy with them. 1. Darkness claimed her, but it was a gentle darkness, free of pain and fear. For the first time since the raid, Zara felt safe. She was in the hands of humans, and despite everything she had been taught about them, despite all the Council's warnings, she knew with absolute certainty that they would not abandon her. They would fight for her life as fiercely as they fought their enemies. Because that was what humans did. They helped those who needed it, even when it wasn't efficient, even when it was dangerous, even when the person they were saving had just tried to kill them. As Zara drifted deeper into sleep, she understood something profound. The Galactic Council feared humanity not because they were violent or unpredictable, though they were both those things. The Council feared humanity because they proved that strength and compassion could coexist, that you could be a lethal warrior and a devoted healer, That mercy was not weakness, but a choice made from a position of power. The galaxy had never seen anything like humans before, and it would never be the same again. Zara woke to the sound of steady beeping. Her mind felt foggy, wrapped in layers of cotton that made thinking difficult. She tried to move and found that her body responded, though slowly. The pain was gone. Not distant like before, but actually gone. She opened her eyes and saw a white ceiling with soft lighting, the medical bay. She was still on the Nightingale. Her 4 arms lay at her sides, and experimentally she tried moving them. All 4 responded. Even the 2 that had been shattered were working again. "Easy now," a voice said. Marcus appeared in her field of vision, smiling down at her. "Don't try to sit up yet. The surgery was extensive. You need time to adjust." "How long?" Zara's voice came out raspy and weak. 14 hours in surgery, then another 30 hours of recovery sleep. You've been out for almost 2 full days. Marcus checked a monitor near her bed. "Dr. Okonkwo did amazing work. She repaired both your broken arms, fixed the internal bleeding, and restarted your secondary heart. You're going to make a full recovery." Zara processed this information slowly. Full recovery. She had been certain she would die, and now this human was telling her she would be completely healed. "I don't understand. Valachian medicine couldn't have done this, not with injuries so severe." "Human medicine is pretty advanced. We had to be. Our planet tried to kill us in 1,000 different ways, so we got very good at putting people back together." Marcus adjusted something on the IV line. "Plus, Dr. Okonkwo studied xenobiology for 15 years before joining our organization. She knows more about alien physiology than most aliens do." "Why?" The question emerged before Zara could stop it. Why learn so much about other species? Why build ships like this? Why help people who aren't human? Marcus pulled up a chair and sat down beside her bed. He looked tired, with dark circles under his eyes, but his expression was patient. "You really want to understand humans? I'll tell you a story. A true one." Zara nodded slightly, her attention focused on him. "When humans first achieved faster-than-light travel, we were excited. We thought we'd find friends out here, allies, people who thought like us. Instead, we found the Galactic Council, and we realized we were completely alone in how we viewed the universe." Marcus leaned back in his chair. "The Council operates on efficiency and logic. Resources are allocated where they provide maximum benefit. The weak are left behind so the strong can thrive. It makes sense from a purely rational standpoint." "That's how civilization survives," Zara said, repeating what she had been taught since childhood. "Maybe, but humans couldn't accept it. We have this stubborn, irrational belief that every life has value, that the strong have a responsibility to protect the weak. That civilization is measured not by how well it treats its powerful members, but by how well it treats its most vulnerable ones." Marcus smiled sadly. "The council representatives laughed at us, called us naive, said we'd learn better once we'd been in space long enough. But you didn't learn." "No. We doubled down. We built ships like the Nightingale and sent them out to prove our point, that you can help everyone. That compassion isn't weakness. That mercy and strength can coexist." He gestured around the medical bay. "This ship has saved over 3,000 lives in the 5 years it's been operational. Humans, aliens, pirates, soldiers, civilians, we don't discriminate, we don't judge, we just help." Zara felt something tight in her chest, an emotion she couldn't quite name. "My people would call that foolish." "Your people left you to die in a collapsing station." Marcus's voice was gentle but firm. "I'm not saying Valachian culture is wrong. Different species evolved different survival strategies. But I am saying that humans chose a different path, and we're going to walk it whether the council approves or not." Before Zara could respond, Dr. Okonkwo entered the medical bay. She examined Zara with the same sharp, assessing gaze as before, checking monitors and readouts. "Excellent progress," she announced. "Your body is accepting the repairs beautifully. Another week of rest and physical therapy, and you'll be back to full functionality." "A week?" Zara struggled to sit up, and this time Marcus helped support her. "I can't stay here for a week. My crew is still out there. Captain Vex won't forget that I'm alive. He'll see me as a liability, someone who might report his failures to the Valachian authorities." "You're safe on this ship," Dr. Okonkwo said firmly. "We don't surrender patients to people who wish them harm. And if your captain tries to attack the Nightingale, he'll discover we're much better armed than a medical transport has any right to be." Marcus grinned. "The doctor loves her ship upgrades. We've got enough firepower to take on a small fleet." "Medical ships need protection," Dr. Okonkwo said primly, "especially when we operate in lawless sectors. Now I want you to rest, eat something, and start gentle movement exercises. Marcus will show you the rehabilitation routine." She left, and Marcus helped Zara swing her legs over the side of the bed. The simple movement exhausted her, but it felt good to be upright. He brought her a tray of food, explaining what each item was and how it would help her recovery. The food was strange, but not unpleasant. Zara ate slowly, feeling strength return to her body with each bite. While she ate, Marcus explained the ship's layout, the crew complement, and the mission they were on. "We're heading to the Outer Reach colonies," he said. "There's a plague outbreak on one of the mining worlds. Mostly Thaxian workers, but some humans and Krell too. The Council has quarantined the planet, but they're not sending aid. Not enough political value in saving miners. So you're going to help them. That's what we do. We go where we're needed, especially where no one else will go." Marcus checked his data pad. "We should arrive in 4 days. By then you'll be mobile enough to move around the ship. If you want, you can help in the medical bay. We can always use extra hands. Literally, in your case." Zara looked at her 4 arms, still amazed that they all worked again. "You would trust me to help? After my crew attacked you?" "You didn't attack us. Your crew did. And they abandoned you for their crime. As far as I'm concerned, you're a patient who's recovered enough to work, if you choose to. Whether you help or not is entirely up to you." Over the following days, Zara learned to navigate the Nightingale. Her strength returned rapidly, the human medical technology accelerating her natural healing far beyond what should have been possible. She met the other crew members, a mix of humans and aliens who had all chosen to dedicate their lives to helping others. The Thaxian engineer Krev explained that he had been a weapons designer before joining the Nightingale. "I spent 20 years building better ways to kill people," he said, his chitinous faceplates clicking together in what Zara recognized as shame. "Then I met Dr. Okonkwo. She asked me why I was so good at destruction but had never tried creation. That question changed everything. The Krell medical assistant, a collective consciousness inhabiting 3 bodies, told her they had been rescued by the Nightingale after their ship was destroyed by pirates. The humans didn't have to save us. Krell are not popular in council space. Our hive mind frightens people. But the crew here treated us like family. We joined to repay that debt, but we stay because this is where we belong." Everywhere Zara looked, she found similar stories. People who had been saved, transformed, or inspired by the Nightingale's mission. The ship wasn't just a medical vessel. It was a statement, a declaration that another way was possible. On the 4th day, Zara stood in the observation deck, watching the stars stream past as they traveled through hyperspace. Chaplain Rodriguez joined her, carrying 2 cups of what he called coffee. "It's a human drink," he explained, offering her one. "Bitter, but it helps you think." Zara accepted it and took a cautious sip. He was right about the bitter part. "Can I ask you something, Chaplain?" "Of course. Do you ever doubt?" This mission, this philosophy of helping everyone, does it ever seem like too much? Like you're fighting a battle you can't win? Rodriguez sipped his own coffee, considering the question. Every day. The galaxy is vast and suffering is everywhere. We can't save everyone. We can't fix every problem. Sometimes I lie awake at night thinking about all the people we didn't reach in time, all the distress calls we couldn't answer. Then why continue? Because of the ones we do save. Because every life matters even if we can't save them all. There's an old Earth saying, it is better to light a single candle than to curse the darkness. We're just lighting candles, one at a time. He smiled at her. You were one of those candles, Zara. Marcus lit your candle when he pulled you from that station. Now your light is back in the universe. What you do with it is up to you. The words stayed with Zara as they dropped out of hyperspace near the quarantined mining world. The planet was gray and pockmarked, its surface scarred by decades of industrial extraction. A council patrol ship orbited at a safe distance, enforcing the quarantine but providing no aid. Dr. Okonkwo hailed the patrol ship. This is the medical vessel Nightingale requesting permission to land and render assistance. The response was curt. Negative, Nightingale. This planet is under quarantine. No vessels may land. People are dying down there, Dr. Okonkwo said, her voice hard as steel. We have medical supplies and personnel. We can help. The plague is too virulent. The risk of spread is too high. Council policy is containment until the outbreak burns itself out. How many will die before that happens? Projections estimate 73% mortality among the infected population. It is regrettable, but necessary. Marcus, standing beside Dr. Okonkwo on the bridge, shook his head in disgust. Regrettable, but necessary. They talk about thousands of deaths like it's a minor inconvenience. Dr. Okonkwo cut the connection and turned to her helmsman. Take us down. Emergency descent pattern. Doctor, they'll try to stop us. Let them try. She looked at Marcus. Prep the medical teams, full contamination protocols. We're going in. The Nightingale dove toward the planet, and the Council patrol ship moved to intercept, powering up weapons. For a tense moment, Zara thought they would actually fire. Then the patrol ship backed off, apparently unwilling to shoot a medical vessel. They won't forget this, the helmsman said. Good, Dr. Okonkwo replied. I want them to remember. I want the whole council to know that humans will not stand by while people die just because it's politically convenient. The ship landed near the main mining facility, a sprawling complex of prefabricated structures and equipment. Marcus led the medical teams out, fully suited in protective gear. Zara, against Marcus's initial protests, had insisted on joining them. I'm Valakian, she had argued. The miners will trust me more than they trust humans. Let me help. Now, walking through the facility, Zara saw the devastation the plague had wrought. Sick miners lay in makeshift infirmaries, cared for by exhausted volunteers who were themselves showing early symptoms. The air stank of illness and despair. Marcus immediately began organizing triage, his calm competence bringing order to chaos. Zara found herself translating, explaining treatments, comforting the scared and dying. Her 4 arms were invaluable, allowing her to work twice as fast as the 2-armed humans. A young Thaxian miner, barely more than a child, grabbed Zara's hand. Are we going to die? Zara looked into those frightened eyes and felt something break open inside her chest. She thought about the cargo bay where she had been left to die. She thought about Marcus carrying her through a collapsing station. She thought about Dr. Okonkwo operating for 14 hours to save a stranger. No, Zara said firmly. These humans don't give up on people. They're going to save you. All of you. The young miner's eyes widened. The humans came? But the council said no one would help us. The humans don't care what the council says. They came because you needed help. And that's all the reason they need. Over the next 3 days, the Nightingale's crew worked around the clock. They synthesized medicine, treated patients, and taught the local volunteers proper contamination protocols. Marcus barely slept, moving from bed to bed with tireless determination. Zara worked alongside him, discovering a satisfaction she had never known in her years as a navigator. Every person she helped, every life she touched, felt like adding light to the universe, like lighting candles in the darkness. On the 3rd day, the plague broke. The medicine worked. Mortality rates dropped from 73% to less than 5%. The miners who had been certain they would die began to recover. The young Thaxian miner Zara had comforted, found her before they left. He pressed something into her hand, a small crystal carved into the shape of a star. "My father made this before he died in the mines," the young miner said. "I want you to have it, to remember us, to remember that you saved us." Zara closed her hands around the crystal, feeling its weight. "I'll never forget." Back on the Nightingale, as they prepared to leave orbit, Zara stood again in the observation deck. Marcus joined her, looking exhausted but satisfied. "You did good work down there," he said. "Natural talent for medicine. Ever considered making it a career?" "I was a navigator. That's all I've ever been trained for." "Was," Marcus repeated. "Past tense. What do you want to be now?" Zara looked at the crystal in her hand, then at the planet below where hundreds of people lived because of the Nightingale's intervention. She thought about her crew, about Vex's cold eyes as he left her to die. She thought about the Council patrol ship, watching people suffer because helping them was too much trouble. Then she thought about Marcus, diving into a death trap to save an enemy. About Dr. Okonkwo, operating for 14 hours on someone she'd never met. About Chaplain Rodriguez and his candles in the darkness. "I want to stay," Zara said. "I want to join your crew. I want to help light candles." Marcus smiled, the genuine warmth in his expression, something Zara had never seen on a Valachian face. "Then welcome to the Nightingale. We're glad to have you." As the ship accelerated away from the mining world, heading for the next crisis, the next emergency, the next group of people the galaxy had forgotten, Zara realized something profound. She had been rescued from that derelict station, yes. But the real rescue had nothing to do with medicine or surgery. The humans had rescued her from a way of thinking that measured people only by their usefulness. They had shown her that weakness was temporary, that everyone deserved help, and that the greatest strength came from choosing compassion when you could choose cruelty. Captain Vex had looked at her broken body and seen only dead weight. Marcus had looked at the same body and seen someone worth saving. That difference, that fundamental philosophical divide, was why humans terrified the Galactic Council. Because if the human philosophy spread, if other species started believing that every life mattered, that the strong had a duty to protect the weak, that mercy was strength instead of weakness, then everything the Council built its power on would crumble. Zara touched the crystal star in her pocket and smiled. Let it crumble. Let the whole galaxy learn what humans already knew. That civilization wasn't measured by efficiency or logic or cold calculation. It was measured by how you treated those who couldn't help themselves. She had been injured and forsaken, left to die in the darkness. But a human had discovered her, and in doing so, had illuminated a path she never knew existed. Now she would walk that path alongside them, lighting candles, saving lives, and proving every single day that another way was possible. The way of compassion, the way of mercy, the human way. And somewhere out there, in a galaxy that desperately needed to learn this lesson, other people were watching, learning, beginning to question the old ways. The Nightingale flew on through the stars, carrying its crew of healers, idealists, and dreamers. They couldn't save everyone, but they would try anyway, because that was what humans did. And now it was what Zara did too.